Hey guys, Jeff here, and today I wanted to talk to you about woodworking for locksport. There are several things we can do for the sake of our hobby if woodworking or woodworking tools is already part of your repertoire, and I just wanted to walk through some of those. Now, the first one I already talked about previously, and that is making a pinion tray. I made this out of an offcut of 2x4. I just used a little V-tool, nothing fancy, and the pinion tray is nothing fancy, but it'll hold some pins. And that just seemed like a really good place to start to realize that no matter your skill level with woodworking, you could do something to help you out for locksport. Next, out of another scrap of 2x4, I made a tool holder. Now, I had a drill press and I laid out some holes. The size is going to depend on your tools. Notice I've got smaller over here. I think these were 1/2 inch, which seemed to be perfect for my Sparrow's Spirits set. Those handles fit in there nicely. But because of my paring knife pick, I made some of the holes a little bit bigger. Fits nicely. Cost me nothing other than my time to make this. Now, I did wrap this with, I had a large flat magnet, like the kind that's used for advertising sometimes. I wrapped it and glued this on. I had hoped that I could hold my tension tools on the front with it, but the truth is, this magnet is not as strong as I would like. You can see little Allen key doesn't really want to hold on there. So if I were going to do this again, I would, on the ends, probably glue on some round, stronger magnets, and then I could just put my tension tools on the end. But still, for very little price, it gives me a way to store my tools handy when I'm at home. Next thing that I did was recently I got some Euro cylinders and was wanting to be able to gut them, and realized I didn't have a proper sized pinning shoe for the locks that I was working on. Enter another chunk of, this is just some scrap wood from my pile, and I was able to drill a hole with a big enough diameter for the Euro to sit in there. And then all I did was I used some of the wiper insert that I know a lot of us have around for making tension tools and all. I drilled a hole straight on through, and then I just started bending the angles that fit my Euro cylinder. Bend it, making sure that this would fit in back and cover all of the pins. So I was compared my bend to the Euro cylinder itself, and then stuck it in there and started working the rest of the angles. So I have this piece of insert. As you can see, it bends at the top, at the bottom, and then on the front. So I'll probably use some glue or duct tape or something to hold that in place. But that is definitely going to help me. And I will have another video later about some more tools that I'm making for gutting the Euro locks. Next up, for those of us who don't have a vise, I realized, and this isn't even a 2x4, this is smaller than that, but I realized that it was easy enough, if you have access to some larger drill bits, to drill holes, and clearly I've tightened this down too tight, drill holes large enough for your different types of locks that you have. I do a lot of door locks, so I was able to put a large hole in, and I found out that a lot of these door locks actually have little lumps and stuff in them, so I had to use some files to give me a little more clearance on the bottom of the hole for this type. That one right there actually sticks out a little bit on the side, but just by filing a few little notches in there, they fit in there securely. So now, without even having a vise, you can free up your hand for picking. Now, I just put a T-nut in here, and tightened this down a little bit, and it's actually holding the lock pretty well. But I realized that a T-nut is going to be released by pressure upwards, so before I use this too much, I would use some super glue or some epoxy to hold that in place so it wouldn't back up out of the wood. There we go. That came out. So now you can see a nice large hole, but I did put those 3 notches in. And then for holding kick cylinders, you can drill a hole and then put the right width at the top. And then I just used my Dremel tool, or you can use chisels or files to widen this up to the right size. Again, I chose, whoops, one moment, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I chose my most awkward kick. This one is a little bit wider in the body and has this little part that sticks out the bottom. So I modified the hole, made sure that it would hold the biggest kick that I have. And that means that a lot of the smaller, more standard ones will fit in there easily also. In addition, to give me a more realistic situation for padlocks, I put this eye bolt on top, and I have one of these quick links that I put on. That way I can fasten the padlock on. Let's back up there. Fasten the padlock on, and you get a little more realistic situation as far as limited motion and trying to work with the padlock. Lastly, and definitely requiring the most skill of any of these if you're going to try, I made a mock-up door. This frame was actually my first attempt at dovetails. I was pretty proud of it, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then I realized if I'm going to get into picking, it's nice to have a realistic situation. So, let's see, I've got it all locked up right now. I reach behind and unlock it. I used some of my extra sets that I have from Habitat from Humanity Restore, which was a big reason that I was able to even make this. Found a piece of wood the right size to fit in the door. Can't get around far enough. But the hinges that I used weren't even door hinges, they were just some cheap hinges that I found, again at the Restore. But this way I can set it up, I can practice picking, I can also practice bypassing. I was actually happy to find this chain, so that way I had some other techniques to practice on. I'm probably going to make another one of these larger, because I'd like to set up with a lever lock so I can make an under door tool and practice with that. So, all of these made basically from scrap that I had around, but allow me to get a little more ease and a little more enjoyment out of my lock picking. So if you are a woodworker, I would love to hear any tools or tricks that you have made to help yourself along in locksport. And with that, I'll talk to you later, guys.